Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to a webinar on India's electric vehicle roadmap post COVID-19. I would like to especially welcome our chief guest, Shri Nitin Gadkari, Hon'ble Minister of Road Transport and Highways and Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. I would also like to welcome our esteemed panel speakers and guests. Our speakers today, Mr. Anil Srivastava, Principal Consultant and Mission Director, NITI Aayog. Mr. Chetan Maini, Co-founder and Vice Chairman, Sun Mobility, Mr. Naveen Munjal, Managing Director, Hero Electric, Mr. Mahesh Babu, MD and CEO, Mahindra Electric Mobility Ltd, Mr. Nishant Arya, Executive Director, JBM Group. We'd like to start with a very brief video.
Transport India Expo and autoX welcome you to a webinar on India's electric vehicle roadmap post-COVID-19. We would like to welcome Shri Nitin Gadkari, Honourable Minister of Road Transport and Highways and Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises as the chief guest. The Indian automotive industry contributes to 7.1% of India's GDP and 49% of India's manufacturing GDP and provides 35 million jobs directly or indirectly. India is the largest two-wheel market and fourth largest automobile market in the world at present. But there's a paradigm shift taking place in the automotive industry as the world and India transition to electric mobility. This will require all stakeholders to collaborate more closely than ever before. In India, electric vehicles sales grew by 20% in 2019 and crossed 1.5 lakh units, with electric two-wheelers contributing to over 95% of this volume. According to IEA, only 17,000 electric cars were on the world's roads in 2010. In 2019, 2.1 million electric cars were added, taking the total number to 7.2 million. The Indian automobile market is slated to reach 84 million units by 2030, of which 30% are expected to be EVs, meaning there's huge opportunity for EVs in India, especially for two-wheelers, e-rickshaws and commercial vehicles.
With those positive words, may I request the Honourable Minister to deliver his opening remarks, please. Gadkari ji is a visionary leader on a mission. He's a visionary but very much a man of action, and we're honoured to have your presence. Sir, your outlook is always positive and your remarks always encouraging. Your time is also valuable, so thank you again for joining us. Over to you, sir.
Dear friends, actually we are facing a lot of problems related with COVID-19, but still our automobile industry is now doing good job. Majority of the industry has started their production, and I am confident that the great contribution of automobile industry in the growth of Indian economy. The industry's volume is of 4,50,000 crore, out of which 1,45,000 crore is export, and this is the industry which is creating more employment potential in India. Regarding changing in technology, it is the continuous process, and today we are all facing the problem of air pollution, which is really one of the crucial problems for the country. That is the one of the important reasons that we need import substitute cost effective pollution free and indigenous solution. As far as our import is concerned, because of crude oil, our 7 lakh crores of import is only for crude oil. That is really a very challenging task for Indian economy. But now our scientists, our innovators, our research scholars are constantly working on the research, and by which we are in position now that alternative fuels are now successfully used in different type of vehicles. We have ethanol economy, and now we are in process making marine fuel and aviation fuel from ethanol. We are also successfully implemented the experiment by using bioaviation fuel in helicopters and fighter jet at last 26 January, and successfully we have taken one of the SpiceJet flight from Dehradun to Delhi by using 25% bioaviation fuel. The most of the angle which is related with this economy is we need to create more jobs, but definitely we need to create more jobs in agriculture, rural, tribal, socially, economically backward area where GDP contribution is very negligible. So the biofuels, electricity is the future fuel, and now presently we are already working on this line with a very, very high speed, which I am expecting that we will get results just in the next year, and we will be one of the leading manufacturers in the world. Because of this scrapping policy, I feel that that is also the strength and plus point for our automobile industry. We have now a lot of indigenous parts which are already manufactured in the country, and when the number will increase, that is going to reduce the cost. Initially the manufacturer, those who are interested in this line, they will get low margins, but after getting high volume, definitely they will get good business. Presently electric bikes from Bajaj and TVS, both bikes, I got appointed to launch these both bikes. The quality is very good, and many small players are also making electric scooters and electric bikes. Electric cars are also popular, and now electric buses are also very economically viable as compared with the diesel. The state transport and city transport purpose, already the municipal corporation has started purchasing buses on electric. Now the cost of diesel per kilometer in Mumbai best is 115 rupees per kilometer. Our ethanol bus cost is 78 rupees per kilometer, and the electric is 50, and in due course of time again it will be reduced by at least 10 to 15 rupees. This is my expectation, because the more manufacturer, more number of buses, that is going to reduce the cost. But at the same time, we need to upgrade our technology about charging also. To make charging easily, that is also one of the key thing in this industry. Government has already taken giving only 12% GST on electric vehicle. Still some of the people, they are expecting subsidy from the government. Now presently government already trying their level best to give maximum concessions, but the more concessions which are already our industry is expecting, I feel that it will be more difficult, because in a situation, economic situation, we are going through a bad shape where it will be, I feel it very difficult. But one thing is that every month the number of vehicle which we are selling now, the number is going to increase, and when the volume will be increased, it will be a game changer. Now in some of the country also, I am confident that within 5 years India will become a #1 manufacturing hub for electric buses, electric cars and electric bikes and scooter, because the way in which we are developing, we have got tremendous potential. There is also blessing in disguise that particularly in the whole world now, the majority countries are not interested to deal with China. That is also the one of the strength for Indian industry. So there is a huge potential for export, particularly in the country where crude oil is not available. They are importing crude oil. It is definitely going to give them good economic benefits. And pollution point of view, that is also equally important. So government policy is working on all fronts. We are working on ethanol, methanol, biodiesel, bio-CNG, LNG, electric. Then a hydrogen fuel cell also the research is going on. So whatever the Indian option which is available, that is exactly we want to encourage that. Agriculture is one of the crucial sector for the country where we have surplus sugar, surplus wheat, surplus rice. Definitely it can be a good option, good alternative for agriculture. That diversification of agriculture towards energy and power sector. That can be a good strength, and in the Indian economy, as far as the socially, economically, educationally backward area, which is maximum agriculture, tribal and rural area, where we need to have more concentration on that, and that is very important for Indian economy. The technology, research, particularly the startup, stand-up, many individuals have a lot of new innovation in this field. And we have got the full capability that our people have, they have proved many technology by their genius approach. They every time they invented the new thing, and that is very important for the industry. One of the feeling which is in my mind is all electric manufacturers, they have more concentrated on how the government is giving the benefit to them. Actually, the 12% GST is a big benefit. But now I feel that by scrapping policy, even we will be in position to reduce the manufacturing cost. But now, because of the number is not very high, the costs are also very high. That is one of the crucial problem related with the industry. Somewhere we need to find out the solution, that how it can be economically viable for the large number of people to get electric vehicle, electric bike, electric scooter. And regarding buses, I feel that the London transport is exactly a correct experiment, where by using that experiment we are in position where we need private investment and private people can invest in public transport through electric buses, and that this system can be very, I feel that it can be have got a tremendous potential, where it is in win-win situation. It is going to benefit the poor people, at the same time the civil administration, and pollution point of view it is in national interest. We have got lot of generation on now is number, I don't know exactly how much megawatt we are generated, but as far as generation is concerned, we are now have got the tremendous capacity. So I feel that this is definitely going to helpful for the industry. We are also planning to make a pilot project, electric highway on Delhi-Mumbai Express Highway. When I visited Sweden, I got appointed to see the electric highway. We are trying to find out on that way to how it can be possible. We want to run a pilot project. We are discussing with the company. So my feeling is there is a huge potential and we can think about it, and I feel that it is really apportive for the industry. I only advise to you that we need consistency and at the same time self-confidence, and is very important presently in the situation of this economic crisis, and because of the crisis because of COVID-19. I'm confident that industry is fully capable. We are now in the already starting our production. I am confident that you will get good market, and government is 100% supporting you. And whatever the rules, regulation, anywhere, what is the problem you are facing, we will definitely will find out the way out and we will help you. I am giving my all best wishes to all stakeholders. And only thing which I want to assure you that the future of this industry is very good. And within 5 years, India will become a manufacturing hub of electric vehicles. Once again, I am giving my all best wishes to you. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you very much for your valuable remarks, sir. Sir, the electric vehicle supply chain is to a large extent controlled by China, especially the raw material side with regards to lithium and cobalt. How can India become more self-reliant going forward in this respect?
The important problem, important concern and present situation, I feel that the aatmanirbhar Bharat, that is to be mission, and you know the what type of situation is happening in present time. So it is the time for Indian scientists, Indian innovators, Indian startup and a manufacturing company to find out Indian alternative for everything. We should not be depend on anybody. And where exactly that point, for that reason, already my colleague in NITI Aayog is here. On this self-dependent, if any other scheme which is going to be helpful for us for self-dependence, where government can think to support them. Actually, we need import substitute. We need 100% Indian vendors, Indian manufacturers should manufacture all type of the parts and whatever the battery or whatever the things may be. I know there are some problems related with lithium and battery and other thing. But today our startup are also working on a different line and different technology. So my suggestion is, with the most important thing for the industry is to find out important alternative for the imports, particularly related with the battery and other thing. We need to find out the solution in India, and for particular reason if we need some help from the government, we will think about it. But this is the time that for the industry, for upgradation of technology, for getting FDI in industry, foreign investment, and by that you can make more export. And the success story of our automobile is, you started from once upon a time we have Fiat, Ambassador and Jeep, Mahindra. But when the joint venture of Maruti Suzuki starts, and Maruti, because of Maruti, total automobile sector is changed. Now the whole good brand in the whole world now are in India. All technology they are implementing in India. We have got availability of technological young generation is there. Young engineers are there. The people are talented. We need to make more research. And I will request you one thing. For the research purpose also, compare with the institutions and engineering colleges and IIT, it is the time for the industry to invest in their research. For that purpose, every industry should have their research wing, where I am trying my level best. If you can give me a proposal, if there is any concession, if you can get it for the research from income tax, we can move that. So every manufacturer to start his own research institute for technology, for existing technology, they can upgrade the technology. And technology is the key of success. Whatever the good technology which we have, on the basis of that only we will get good market and good export. So I feel that this is the time, and I am in a government process to get good technology is a very difficult task. The private people can encourage and they can find out the way out. And the people, those who are going to invest in technology for the future, 100% they will be benefited. That is my angle about it.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I know that time is short and you have another meeting to attend, but with your permission, Mr. Chetan Maini wanted to pose a question to you.
Okay.
If you have a few minutes, may I request Chetan to make a statement and pose his question?
Namaste, Nitin Gadkari ji. So nice to see you and thank you for taking the time. You're very right. I think we need to look at India as a push. I know in the last 3 years, we've put close to 200 people in EV deployment. And I think if all companies come together, we can create a true horsepower in the country on this area. I also feel it's important that the industry does more for the entire economy. One of the things we have recently done is partnered with the LSC for accelerating green mobility initiatives, where we're training ITI people to actually how to assemble small electric vehicles and then use them and run them themselves for logistics delivery. So it's important we bring electric mobility and not just the large companies, but how do we take it all the way down? And this is going to be the other area. I do think the industry needs a couple of other things besides what you've talked. One is, you rightly said that the GST has come down, and this has been very helpful. But the people who use these two-wheelers and three-wheelers and rickshaws, today, if they have to do either charging services or swapping services, they today have a GST of 18% versus 5% on a vehicle. Now, for someone who wants to adopt electric vehicle, especially rickshaw people, and are people who are going to be driving our economy, we've got to make sure the GST and services of these areas match the products so that they're not getting a burden to adopt, pay 18% more for using electrification. So while the policies are there, we just want a uniformity to especially help the group that wants to go electric, especially since recently the Ministry of Power has opened up to say that infrastructure can come in, which means many companies will put infrastructure in. And with this policy coming in place, the GST is aligned, this would help adoption of electric mobility across the masses. And the other part is that we have a lot of great policies in the country, same queue on this area that has come through. It's important that it is technology agnostic. So today there are subsidies for two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and others. But if a customer wants to choose a battery swapping versus another option, he may not get the subsidy in the same way. And so it's important that the policies which have come at the top level become uniform so that they can be pushed across on this front. This will really help the industry. Right? And the last part is, again, at the top level, at the country level, we are talking about electrification. But at the state level, a lot of manufacturers are having challenges for registration of vehicles, getting out there and implementing them. So again, it's important that how do we get the states involved and the local cities involved so that OEMs all across, solution providers who want to go electric, we're able to remove these barriers. So at the time of COVID, post-COVID, it's important we get this part of the economy really moving. Small changes in policy or implementation of them, I believe, can have a multiplying effect on the EV policy of the country, and look forward to your continued support in helping some of these being implemented.
Is absolutely correct. On this line, we need exactly the grassroots level problem where you need government help. My suggestion is we can make because this subject is related with 2-3 ministries. We can formulate one group, working group, and NITI Aayog will take the initiative. And whatever the problem you are facing, we will resolve that issue. I feel that we have got the capability and we can make it increase the production of e-vehicle in the country on a large scale. But the small bottlenecks which we need to address, and if we can formulate a small group, we can address that issue and we will resolve the issues and we will go ahead. Government policy is very positive, very supporting, and we will support you. What my assessment is from last 2 years, every day we are marching ahead. And people are taking good initiative, the industry is also taking good initiative. Their quality of vehicles is also good. And 100% I am confident that that quality will definitely going to attract foreign investor also. And regarding the technology upgradation is a big challenge, because every day people are giving every day new options. So that is one of the problem, that if one option you can use it, till now you will get 10 more options, alternatives, and that is the problem. But somewhere it is depending upon the industry, that which will be the long term successful technology by which you can go for big production. That is exactly a business outlook. But I feel that the future is very bright. People are preferring it. When you increase the number, you reduce the cost, you will get more market. Actually, I don't know, I'm not an automobile engineer or expert person, but my feeling is the manufacturing cost, production cost of electric vehicle is, in comparison with petrol and diesel, is less. It is the starting point, that the reason that we need to pay something more for that. But definitely when the number will increase, it will be a game changer, and definitely it will support industry. But selection of appropriate technology are very important. And my suggestion is, this is the time, it's a blessing in disguise. If the industry gets foreign technology, good technology, appropriate technology, then it is to be upgradation of technology. The time period is really one of the important time period that you can use it for that. And second thing, I feel that for foreign investment also, now it's possible in the whole world. The investor now keenly interested to invest in India. So both things are there, and I feel that the future of the industry is very bright, and we can formulate a group in the ministry with the NITI Aayog, and whatever the task, whatever the problems on the grassroots level you are facing, we will try to find out the way out for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you also, sir, for your positive outlook. I've heard you say recently that many people find opportunity in a crisis, and many people find a problem in an opportunity. So thank you for your positive outlook. Sir, if you still have time, and if you have a few more minutes, then may I request the other panelists also to address you. If you do have time, you can say.
Last two questions, okay, we will take it.
Thank you, sir. Mahesh,
Thanks.
is there anything that you'd like to ask the minister?
Yeah.
So this is.
Yeah, thank you. This is Mahesh here. Namaskar, Shri Nitin Gadkari ji. Government have always been supportive on electric mobility till now, and the industry today is, as you said, is jointly working with government and the customer to see how India can become globally competitive. I have only two requests to you, and other things have been talked to my colleague, which we are seriously working. When we talk about aatmanirbhar Bharat, where we want to make many components in India, we are only looking at lithium-ion cell. But in EV technology, there are many technologies like motor controller, power electronics, and the battery management system. There are many 30 to 40% of the value add today are also being imported. If you look at Mahindra, we have invested on all these technologies and already localized many in our Trio 3-wheeler. Today in our Trio 3-wheeler, except the cell, everything else is localized. When we have localized, we are also request you, the government, to think there are a lot of inverted duty structure on import. For example, if I import a motor controller, it is 0%, but if I buy raw material for the motor controllers, it is at 10 to 12% duty. So because of this, the manufacturing outcome of Make in India is having some challenges. We have already represented. I am sure if it comes to your notice, you will be able to appreciate if we have higher duty on raw material, we will not be able to have any value addition for putting investment in Make in India. The second one, which you have rightly said, Honorable Minister, is on R&D in India. If you look at, we are doing a lot of R&D in India as Mahindra. We have been invested in R&D to make new products, new technology, everything. But I believe the R&D income tax exception for industry is going away, and that will have some impact on investment in R&D. If that also can be considered, it will boost people who will invest in R&D, particularly.
Yes, these are good suggestions.
I
We will think about
things.
it. Actually, you give me one proposal regarding income tax. I will take it to Finance Minister. Those who are manufacturer want to establish their laboratories, their research centers. For that purpose, we can give them some income tax concession. So that can be also a good help to him. We'll do it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Naveen, is there anything that you'd like to say?
Yeah, thank you. Namaskar, sir. Thank you so much for your positive comments, sir. So we've been pushing electric mobility in India for over a decade now, and in the two-wheeler segment, India, majority of the vehicles on the roads, aapko bhi pata hai, are two-wheelers, and we've been pushing it very actively. So while we've been working very actively in localization and make in India, there is still a matter of scale, sir. The whole industry is way too small right now for any large, serious tier one companies to take us seriously and invest into the components and tooling which is required. So Jesse, the minute we localize, about 30% हमारी cost वैसी बढ़ जाती है, sir, because of the volume not being there. So that is one factor. The second factor is, so when we talk about subsidy, etc., so there are two ways to look at it. So one is the monetary and the second is the non-monetary terms. So in monetary, so abhi jo government ka support hai with the FAME 2 support is only for the premium end of the vehicles, because there is a certain range and speed criteria which has been established. Whereas the market, 90% of the market is actually not in that category. The 90% of the market is in the lower performance category, where people are using as a means of commute as an alternate from public transport. So wahan pe koi support nahi hai, sir. So what we've been saying is, rather than giving an additional subsidy or anything of that sort, if that tweaking can happen to include the vehicles which are actually being used by the masses, to help, that will help the market hugely. So it's only a 1.5 lakh unit market in total. So that's insignificant in terms of size. If we have to get to the volume that we are looking at, so we could have been at 1 million units right now. So had the policies been right. So just some tweaking of policies is required, sir, or if not, then maybe going back to the earlier policy which was there, which was FAME 1, that at least had a lot of growth in it. So isme to degrowth hogi, yes, sir, of the vehicles that are in this policy.
We will think all this problem. I feel that in a joint group with the concerning ministry and NITI Aayog and other things, we will find out the grassroots problem, because I understand there are problems and this is the starting time. So starting teething trouble are there. But some of the issues, my only suggestion to you bifurcate issue related with the road ministry, related with the heavy industries, related with the MSME, related with the finance ministry. Now as a MSME also we want to encourage you, and we change the definition now. So this can be a golden opportunity for particularly the vendors now. Those who are making different type of parts now, we have the change the definition is a big change. Actually you can get an advantage as a MSME, because some of the industry, the small startup also, the micro industry, previously there was a criteria manufacturing and service was the different criteria, but now merge it and now it is manufacturing and services. For macro the investment was 25 lakh, now it's 1 crore, and turnover was 10 lakh, it comes to 5 crore. The small industry, the investment was 5 crore and turnover was 2 crore. Now the investment coming to 10 crore and turnover to 50 crore. The most important thing is for medium, investment is 10 crore, it was now going up to 50 crore, and turnover was 5 crore, it go to 250 crore, excluded exports. So by getting registration of MSME also, you will get lot of advantage. So the vendors who are now making different type of parts, if they can enter into as a medium scale or small scale industries, they will be benefited. One thing which again I will request you, if you are planning to make industrial cluster for electric vehicle, then also we can think about it, because we need to develop skilled manpower and the vendors for the different part of which we need for manufacturing for the e-vehicle. If we can make industrial cluster for that, I am ready to support you. That can be also a good help for the industry. And I feel that regarding research, and there are three parts are important. One is research, innovation and research. Third is skilled, trained manpower. For that purpose, availability of raw material, that is the three important things are involved in this thing. I feel that it is the time which I am directly want to tell you, because I was not using that words. Well, we should not be dependent upon China now. We need to take initiative to take the option. Now presently the Chinese price are attractive. You are getting good profit by importing the parts. But for long term, it is the time for the country, for the industry also, that we need to start that everything in India. Without that, we don't have a good future. Otherwise, the Chinese, somewhere they can give some reasonable concessional rate at the starting point, and when your industry will run for a good production, they will charge more. So again, there will be a problem. So self-dependent on everything is the key of success for this industry, and that is exactly the dream of Prime Minister, aatmanirbhar Bharat, that we need to option for everybody. So we are also working on one scheme from last 3 years, export and imports. Now I am trying, it's not in my hand. For the import substitute, we are going to frame new policy. In that particular policy, if we give me suggestion for that, in that case, I will try my level best to get you more concession from the finance ministry for getting making production in India. But that is to be, we need to make more detailed study for that. But our role is very positive and supporting. We understand there is a bright future of this industry. There is a huge potential for employment potential, and also the capability in the Indian engineering, young talented people. I feel that we can make more new innovations, new research, by which we can give alternative for all the things which are available in the world, particularly related with the e-vehicles. So on that line, definitely we will work. You also make research and study of present situation and kindly give me the details about it. We will think and we will work on the line. Presently I am in charge for MSME and also for the as a transport minister. So please department wise prepare the notes and give it to us. We will definitely try to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Nishant, on the commercial vehicle front, do you have anything?
Good afternoon, sir. I think, sir, you have said it all. So from the bus sector, since you understand the STUs and bus has been one of the prime focus areas for you. So, sir, currently the gross cost contract model is what is going on across the country because that has been more efficient. So, sir, we have been requesting for some priority lending to the operators and for the gross cost contract so that the cost effectiveness can be brought in and they can get the funding timely, sir. So that is a big request which is there from the whole community so that this model can take off. And the largest allocation in FAME 2 also is to public transport and buses. So that is something which will be going to benefit the masses across the country. And today's date, all the operators are in a very tough situation. So secondly, sir, you spoke about exports, sir. So that is another area, sir, that a lot of us are getting a lot of export opportunities. But something for EV sector on the export area, if that support and that kind of motivation can be provided and finance ministry can support with your request, I think, sir, then things could come on right track and India can become a manufacturing hub for such kind of products, what we have been looking at and what you have been propelling, sir, always on Make in India. So those were the 2 points I just wanted to put across. I think everything else has been covered by my colleagues.
One thing I will request you, start your own NBFC, and if you can possible for you to get the finance from abroad with the low interest, you can make a model that in the municipal corporation for the operator, you can give your buses on the defer payment basis and every month they will deposit your money back. So that will be a proposal with NBFC and operator and the manufacturer. Three will come together and formulate a proposal. At least there is a requirement of 10 lakh buses. Yeah. And we can do it. There is a huge potential. My feeling is Somewhere you take the initiative and take your own NBFC or some NBFC in it. One NBFC stakeholder, one is the manufacturer, and other is the operator. The three come together and formulate, and they can cooperate. The huge potential is there. There is no problem about economic viability. Somewhere, if you are expecting cooperation from bank, then priority lending, yeah, these are things I don't want to object it, but these are very difficult, because in the agriculture also we are giving priority lending. For when we started to giving priority lending to transport sector, then there will be, everyone will demand. So there is a problem. So my suggestion is, through NBFC you can get more foreign investment, and if it can be possible, your interest cost will be less. Now in South Korea, Japan, the people when deposited their money in banks, they have to give interest for that. So somewhere international collaboration, or particularly the country those where you are making your imports, on the basis of that, is there is any new vehicle you can formulate by which you are in position to finance the thing. And there are three important stakeholders: operators, manufacturers, and at the same time the investor, bankers. But now presently state government, municipal corporation, their economic situation is very, very bad. So operator will operate, he will charge the tickets, every day he will deposit money in escrow account, and that money will go to manufacturer. That is to be way out. On the basis of these three stakeholders coming together, and if they can start and using this model, there is a huge potential for getting buses, electric buses. Now for school buses, city buses, there is a huge potential. All cities are now, they are now interested to purchase these vehicles, but they don't have money, but the business is there. You need to find out some new option for that. That can be a good alternative. This is my feeling.
Right, sir. I think, sir, the only point I just wanted to share, sir, that today 99% of the operators are MSME, sir. So, sir, if some support can be given from your side through SIDBI to these operators also, till such NBFC structures come in, I think would be very instrumental in promoting, sir.
You come to me, on MSME, give me some proposal, we will work on it. There is a huge potential, sure, and I will support from MSME side to them.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. I believe that you have a next appointment that you need to attend. I'd like to thank you very much once again for all the time that you've given us this morning. You've been very generous with your time and very generous with your views. So thank you once again for your presence here.
Thanks. Namaskar.
Namaskar. So a question to all the other panelists. We still have about 20 minutes to go. So thank you all for staying with us. I was looking at some of the sales figures on the EV front for Europe, and the figures for March were quite enlightening. So year-on-year sales for traditional internal combustion engine vehicle sales in the UK market, for instance, in March year-on-year saw a 44.4% drop, but EV sales saw 109.3% increase year-on-year. Germany saw a 10% drop or 11% drop for traditional vehicles and 104% increase. Even Italy, which was hit very hard in March, it saw an 85% drop in ICE vehicles, but almost 20% increase in EVs. Does anybody have any insights on what might be happening here?
Can talk about it. I think the base is one is the base is low. That's one. Second is March is a very transition month in Europe. If you look at India, let's say we are in three-wheelers, right? Our volume doubled with respect to last year. But the three-wheeler volume, overall industry volume has not doubled. It's a few percentage of increase. So if you look at the low base, I think the growth is still there. Plus also, as you rightly said, the story of whole automobile is being challenged. So when it challenged, I think the drop in sale due to the economic activity of regular vehicles are much higher impacted when compared to electric vehicle. because the electric vehicle story is not different from any other industry due to COVID. COVID has no specific impact on specifically electric vehicles. The only difference is people have seen now, as our colleague said, that the environmental is now clean. So many more thought process around electric vehicles has started rolling around in the minds. So we are seeing, for example, the EV three-wheeler sales have come back to 25% level in the first month of May. And in June, we are working to improve on further. So while there are challenges, I think the comeback of EV will be much higher. I also believe EV industry is already in turbulence. Like we had plenty of policy changes. We had state government intervention, central government intervention. We need subsidy. So the industry, I always used to say, is most eligible to survive COVID turbulence because we are used to it when compared to the stable industry of automobiles. So the agility in which we come back, the agility in which we can handle such situation is much, much better when compared to a stable industry for 100 years. So I would say that may be the three factors which would have played a role.
I think the last important one is also the availability of the number of models that you have today is changed year on year, and the addition of new models and availability of product, and also high quality product where the performance of these products in many cases exceed the performance of internal combustion engine vehicles. So I think in India also, as we start to see that performance curve being broken on this area, I think you start to see that as also an important aspect to drive the sales.
Just getting back to sort of battery technology for a second, there's been a lot of talk about battery technology becoming cheaper, obviously, as we go forward and as scale increases. But what about the next step in terms of actual battery development? Because we've been waiting for that next step in terms of so that range is improved and weight goes down, cost as well. What is the next step from a battery development standpoint?
Well, batteries, have been improving significantly. From lead acids at 30 watt-hours per kg, they were at 150, 180. Today, they're at 250 watt-hours per kg, right? So you're close to, almost 10 times lighter per unit energy. Batteries have been going at around 8% year on year, both cost and performance. In many ways, you're thinking of it that you're using 8% less raw material, and therefore the weight is less. Cost comes down as a result of that too, and your energy is going up. So that's how you're getting a double impact on this front, right? I think this is going to continue for a few more years because of improvements. And now there are probably a bunch of things on the anvil that would probably give you slightly larger changes, maybe 30, 40%. But those technologies haven't fully matured as yet, I think. So if you look at certain levels of solid state batteries, if you look at certain areas around technologies around lithium ion with metal air technologies, there are either life cycle issues or certain safety issues that haven't come through. So where you are on this spider chart is you can get each one, but you can't get everything in one. So you can get batteries that can charge in 15 minutes, but they happen to be maybe 100 watt-hours per kg, right? You can get them to get you 10,000 cycles, but they don't give you the right cost on this area, right? And so where you have today is that you have to mix and match between chemistries and this. And I think India needs to take that into consideration as it selects the technology that goes forward. It's just not the city-based area, but it's also the application of what you would look at on this frontier, right? So if you're looking at for scooters or vehicles used in small formats, you may use a different technology. But if you want something to be swapped multiple times a day, you're looking for something that's going to last longer, right? So there's not going to be a one size fits all, right? And so for us as a country, we should be exploring all of these technologies, right? And then as there's a more maturity of it, you can look at it. Fortunately, many of these technologies can be produced on similar assembly lines, many of them, right? So it's possible that investments being made don't have to be completely scrapped, but there can be variations of electrolyte, variations of how things are manufactured to give you and fine-tune the product for different applications.
Just going back to one of the points that the minister had made, that one of the reasons, of course, for transitioning to EVs, in addition to the environmental benefit, is to reduce dependence on the import of oil. But how real is the concern that the raw material supply chain is very much controlled by China? So are we just shifting our dependence from one place to the other? Is that a concern?
Not really, because I think what you should consider is that yes and no, right? So you are using more lithium, agreed. But let's take an example that a battery is, for example, $150 per kilowatt hour at cell level, right? In that, probably the cost of lithium, maybe $10 on this area, right? Because your raw material cost is half, and in that you have various areas as an example, right? And now you look at this battery is able to last you, say, 5 years in the field for 100,000 kilometers equivalent on this area for that pack. And if you look at the amount of dollars you're using over per kilometer is much less. In the case of fuel, you're burning it up, right? You get a barrel, you burn it up, right? And so it's not that it can be amortized. So the amount of imports would probably be maybe 50x less, even if we have to import in the short term, right? While we mature the industry, right? Recently, we found certain lithium deposits near Mysore, right? We haven't started even exploration, which has to happen. And two, like we today have a strategy for oil at a country level, where we aligned our interests with certain other countries, right? We'll have to do the same for these, right? We'll have to have a strategy with South America for certain reserves and other countries, right? So there's a strategic alliance where we can get materials and process them together. So I think there is a role at the country level that has to be done, and at a strategic level, and probably a role where even we can improve this area while we find a transition. And we also have to look at alternate sources. Today, industry is talking of sodium batteries. They're talking about motors without magnets on this area, which have always been the induction machine for other technologies. So you also need to find alternates while you look at strategic side, while you look at the reduction of materials on this front.
So we've got about 10 minutes to go. If I could just go to all the panelists one by one and request for closing remarks. Anilji, any closing remarks from you?
Yeah, I think the minister has made it very clear, and he was, and fortunately we got so much time with him, and that too with kind of a one-to-one interaction which we very rarely get. And it was a good that his attention has been drawn to number of factors and with all the segments of the industry as such. So it was a good opportunity, and I'm very sure that he has repeatedly mentioned that he would be having a working group or a group interministerial kind of a thing which would be taking forward all the issues which have been raised here. So we already have it this kind of a arrangement with us, but now that with his patronage, it will be that we will be taking forward a few things. Yes, the GST is at 5%, but of course this issue which was raised about by Mahesh around about the duty and the duty on the components and the spare parts, that is also an issue which we are already working on. And similarly, the issues which were raised by a few other participants, like GST on the services of these products, which Chetan has mentioned about, that is also an issue which needs to be addressed. So, I mean, in NITI, we are certainly aware of all those issues which were put forward to the Hon'ble Minister, and we are working on it. But as things move, but I must say to all the stakeholders that probably it is in the electric vehicle segment that a very large number of stakeholders friendly decisions have been taken over the last 2 years' time, and we have really moved very fast when we compare it with other industries. But it's not that probably we need to move even faster, and the other sectors of the economy also need to move faster and have the quick decision making. As far as duties are concerned, we also do realize that the duty structures or the taxation have been speaking, and we have had the discussion in the NITI Aayog also as to some kind of a play with the with these instruments has to be done so that we are able to move in the desired direction. And the minister was extremely forthright in saying that you need not be dependent on one specific country, which he named also. So that was something probably has come out for the first time and by none other than the Honorable Minister. So I think it was a very useful discussion which we had here. And I mean, all the stakeholders and the entire industry knows that in NITI Aayog we are open and we are having regular and continuous interaction for all these issues, and we do take up all these things. So I'm really very happy to have this kind of a discussion and the interaction. And I must congratulate you also, Dhruv, for organizing it. And I would also like to say that please put it on something in the public domain so that the people could access it, whether on the YouTube or wherever it is, so that this is kind of this discussion or the interaction is kind of not that kind, but it's a milestone to my understanding, and we have to move forward from here. Thank you.
We will, sir. Thank you very much. And thank you also for your participation at this webinar. And as you said, you're aware of these issues and you're proactively taking charge of them. So thank you again. Naveen, any closing remarks from you?
Yes, Dhruv, thank you. Just to start, when we look at electric mobility, one classic mistake that everyone looks at and one makes is that we put electric vehicles in one category, whereas it's not. The requirements and needs of a two-wheeler versus three-wheeler versus cars versus public transport or commercial vehicles are very, very different. They all have different infrastructural requirements, battery requirements, swapping versus charging. So it's all different. So you've got to look at them first and foremost in completely different baskets. And India, I mean, as any reports that have come out, it does talk about that, two-wheelers, because it's a low-hanging fruit and because India has such a large number of two-wheelers, and where the parity also has, to an extent, already reached. So the performance and price parity may not have reached at this point, but the price of the batteries have come down substantially. In fact, they've declined in terms of lithium-ion about 85% in the last 10 years and expected to decline even further going forward. So localization is a key, but that's again a long-term factor, because it does take so much time for localization to happen. Price drop will happen, like I said, the low-hanging fruit is the two-wheelers. What's happening at this point is that the push is there from the government, and we totally applaud that. However, that push is there. Some course correction is required at this point of time. And that's all that we are talking about. We're not saying that you don't do anything new, but just that if it's not working, then is some kind of course correction required. And that to us as a consumer, as a user, as a manufacturer is very, very important and absolutely required. So irrespective of whatever happens or whatever way the policies come, we are pushing forward and we are going to continue pushing forward. We are already seeing a substantial impact post-COVID in terms of the buying patterns of people, consumer behavior. They are relying a lot more on online and a hybrid model between online and offline. And we've already seen the environment, that's how it's dramatically changed for us and how it's improved for everybody. And that's an impact which everybody's seeing. And that's, so we should continue pushing in that direction. Affordability will happen over a period of time. But if we have to get further penetration, then we need a push and we need some kind of a support from the government as well. And that could be monetary or it could be non-monetary terms as well. So that's it for now.
Thanks. Nishant, sorry, Mahesh, go ahead.
Yeah. So
I think Nishant has started. Let him start.
Yeah. So Dhruv, I think the key aspect here is that how are we looking at the whole EV ecosystem? Because if the whole EV ecosystem is not going to play, I think what Chetan was mentioning earlier on is that if we are having services, people want to go in a gross cost contract model, people want to go in a service model, and eventually the scale will not come from STUs or the government. The private sector has to adopt it, people have to use it for corporate fleets. I'm talking about public transport and buses here because that's our primary focus area. So it's important how you collaborate because no one company can do everything. And that's where the key is because there's so much investment happening in the R&D space. And across the world, the governments have brought in different kind of mandates where they have made green zones, They have made the pollution levels, and basis that the cities have been able to reduce their fossil fuel content and parking support systems. So multiple things are being given across the world. I think a clarity and a long-term roadmap is what is most important, because companies who are investing in the EV space, they are definitely looking forward to that roadmap to have that level of clarity. Even though technology is not very clear to many people, since a lot of changes are happening, a lot of new technologies are coming in, but how each company responds will be different. So there's no standard formula there. But the complete supply chain, which you are trying to see how it is coming to India, how we are manufacturing in India. So along with that, the digitization part would be very essential here. How the digitized aspects for the battery management systems, charging management systems, vehicle management systems are brought in, and clearly the vehicle health and the complete ecosystem can be managed well there. And alongside that, other than the skilling, I think skilling is very important. People are not finding enough people for engineering, R&D, or after sales, and many such areas, because it's a totally new domain. So their government involvement support for institutionalizing processes and systems with the private sector would become instrumental. Simultaneously, in many other countries, like what we have seen in Germany and other places with Fraunhofer and other kind of institutions, there's a lot of industry, academia connect and investment into R&D for such kind of things, and that is what we as a company also propelling, partnering with many such global R&D centers, having investing in R&D and engineering ourselves, and clearly seeing that across the value chain, how are we able to give a holistic solution and really understand the customer needs, because there's no standard solution. Especially in our case, we customize to every city because it has demographic and geographic requirements. The density for different residents and users is very different, so we try and give that kind of a model. But if it has to pick up, I think people really need to see that how they can be a standard system irrespective of technology, irrespective of any particular company. The whole sector can progress. What happened in the automotive sector, so definitely we had the least level of regulation earlier on. Definitely last few years we have been impacted in the automotive sector from that. So that creates a level playing field where I feel that people from the automotive sector, power sector, railway sector, many other sectors would be coming in and bringing in their expertise. So something similar to what happened in solar energy 10 years back, and now we see where we are, and it is much better off compared to fossil fuel energy. But there we miss the bus on manufacturing and localization, and majority is still import from elsewhere. So that should not be lost, and we need to see that how the industry and the technologies take their own curve depending upon the competitiveness they have. And that's where I think the whole ecosystem, the all organizations need to work together, and with a clear roadmap from the government what they're intending to do, which does not change every day. Because when you're investing today, you need at least 3 to 5 years clarity on that front. That's my purpose.
Thank you. Mahesh?
Yeah, I think the importance is we are looking at roadmap post-COVID. I would say the EV industry as the basic fundamental, the most efficient way of transporting people today is through an electric motor after your any other thing. So the basic fundamental has not shifted due to COVID. What has shifted is if we were to walk, run, and fly, that's what we are talking in Mahindra and auto sector. If we are about to run, I think COVID has put a break for us to walk some more time before we start running and flying. That's the only difference it has happened. But we are agile. We have to look at new post-COVID situation, what happens. I think when the migrant are you able to see me? Hear me? Sorry, I was telling that still economic activity needs to come back for the one, and the most economic viable is the commercial segment. Like let's look at three-wheelers. Three-wheelers are the area which electric can come very quickly because it's economically viable, and it makes sense for somebody to venture into three-wheelers because it makes more commercial sense. And it also brings in a lot of technologies of electric to bottom of the pyramid, like drive-by-wire. People are so enthralled to drive an electric three-wheeler because there is no gears. And we have seen a lot of women empowerment, women drivers embracing electric mobility. So Mahindra Trio sales, when we did, we had a lot of enthusiasm among women because it gives them empowerment in city areas, urban areas where they can live their life with economic power. So there are a lot of positive cases of electric mobility transforming the life of people in India. and the basic fundamental is right. So there is no reason that we need to derail it, and I'm sure this is not going to be taken away by COVID. It's a matter of time. We come back, and then we are already seeing the market is quickly changing. We get back to the run state quickly. That's what I feel.
Thank you. Go ahead, Chetan.
I think that as everyone has said, we got to realize that EVs are here to stay in their long term. So that's given, right? I think the question is, when people have a bad situation around them, what do they do, right? And the tendency is to say, oh, things like EVs, let's not invest in them today. Let's focus on other aspects of bread and butter, right? But in reality, if you look at the global industries, whenever there's been downturns, that's when new technologies have been developed. That's when infrastructure investments have happened. And so when people have come out of such situations, the industry's growth is very high. You can almost jumpstart them. So my thing too is the industry should continue to invest. Startups should continue to innovate, because there are still pieces of the puzzle that all have to come together. And this could be a blessing in disguise if these continue, that over the next 12 months, that all of these pieces can come together and the industry can use a huge push. I think the government's push of an India manufacturing base to exploit that more, if rightful policies come in, that could give the right impetus for further investments to happen, which I think are much needed in the industry. So that's going to be important that can come through on this area. It's also important that we think of this at a whole community level solution, right? You've got to get the stakeholders better integrated, be it tier ones, OEMs, delivery, mobility solution providers, infrastructure providers, and most important, cities, right? There isn't a platform today that brings everyone together. And so we're not able to leverage that. We should use this time to use certain model cities or partnerships and enable that to create how this can be successful and emulate that across the country on this front and bring this part together. And with all of this happening, a role of government at two levels. One is ensuring that what policies it has in a vision are actually implementable at the grassroots level, right? There shouldn't be issues for people not getting permits for running vehicles and registration. That's just counterproductive, right? And at the top level, what Naveen had said, that there's some learnings that should be tweaked. And what Nishant alluded to, where any policy should be technology agnostic, right? So it's a right point where if these things are there, and the minister also said that they put a small group together, and Anil also mentioned that, I think can we hasten this, both at a central level and a state level, where there is more nodal agency to look at this, because the challenge of the EV industry always has been, it's been with everyone but with no one, right? And when that's there, it doesn't get the kind of focus it needs, which needs to come through.
Thank you. We've overshot our time. I mean, this is a conversation that we could continue for hours at a stretch, and I apologize to all the attendees because I haven't been able to get to any of the questions in the chat box. But thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time. I'd like to thank the minister as well for being so generous with his time and also with his views. Anilji, thank you as well for your time. It's been a great discussion. I wish we could carry on for a couple more hours, but we've reached our time limit. So thank you all once again. Thank you to all of our attendees, and I look forward to seeing all of you in person as well sooner rather than later. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dhruv, for coordinating it.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks.